When it comes to the state of Georgia, most people focus on Atlanta. Atlanta being the capital and the most populated city in the state. Not only is Atlanta an international hub for travel, being home to the world's busiest airport, but it's also arguably the current capital city for the rap music industry, being described by some as Black Hollywood, and essentially the place where talented young black artists trying to break into music or movies really need to be. Atlanta has birthed countless legends of the rap game, from Outkast, Gucci Mane, Young Thug, T.I., Lil Baby, 21 Savage, Playboi Carti, Future, and countless more. But it's not just the people that come from Atlanta, but the people that come to Atlanta that make it great. Atlanta has become the buzzing music hub and fertile ground for collaboration between America's most beloved musicians. The city has attracted artists from out of state like Lil Durk, who moved from Chicago to Atlanta to develop his music career. But it's not just artists that have been attracted to the city either, because where there's a lot of people and a lot of money, hustlers and criminals aren't far behind looking to muscle in on the action by any means. And Atlanta has a storied history of gangs and drug dealers. From BMF, or the Black Mafia family, who had the city on lock with a drug dealing empire reportedly worth hundreds of millions in the 2000s, to the antics of drug dealer turned rapper Rallo, who used private jets to traffic drugs, but ultimately ending up in jail after an extensive self-snitching campaign in songs and on social media. But that's not all that's going down in Georgia's most rich and central city. In fact, in many ways, the huge entertainment powerhouse Atlanta has become has caused many people to overlook other parts of the state of Georgia. Because around 4 hours drive away from Atlanta is the city of Savannah, the oldest city in Georgia with a long history. And not all of that history is positive, because since Savannah was established in the 1700s, the city has been deeply associated with the slave trade, as the mild climate there offered perfect conditions for growing cotton, with the slave plantations that produced that cotton shipping it out of the port of Savannah all over Europe. The booming trade in cotton made local European immigrants and slave owners rich, and naturally, when the US Civil War broke out, Savannah was considered a crucial city in the Confederacy, with William T. Sherman targeting Savannah in his March to the Sea campaign. This saw the Union Army marching from Atlanta to Savannah and destroying everything in their way in order to defeat the Confederate Army, with a peaceful surrender eventually being negotiated, saving the historic port of Savannah being destroyed. Once the Civil War had ended, Savannah would slowly fall down the ranking, going from the 41st most populous city in 1860 to falling off the list of the 100 most populous cities completely by 1930. Perhaps it was the decline of the slave trade that turned the fortunes of the people living there. In 1890, Savannah State University was founded, being the oldest African-American public college in the state of Georgia. And over this period of post-slavery development, despite the overall population of the city falling, Savannah observed a high number of free African-Americans. Jumping to the modern day, African-Americans are by far the dominant demographic in the city. However, the steady shift in industries over the years would unfortunately see many of the African-Americans still living in Savannah struggling. The poverty rate in the city would sit significantly above the Georgia and United States averages, and like many cities in the US and the world at large, some of the poorest areas in the city would be saddled with high crime rates and a lack of job prospects, leading to a generation of lost, impoverished youths marching without guidance into a life of crime. Over time, a criminal underworld of gangs would emerge in the deepest, darkest corners of the city, leading to high rates of robberies and violence. An article from April 2017 suggests that there are over 60 gang sets operating in Savannah. Apparently, over the last few decades, a number of Los Angeles-based street figures decided to move to Georgia to do business. Many of these individuals were members of the Rollin' 60s Crips, one of America's oldest and most infamous gangs founded in Los Angeles. This group's influence would eventually spread to Southside Atlanta and Clayco, Clayton County, and the influence of the Rollin' 60s would spread all over Georgia, eventually coming to Savannah in the west and the Southside areas. Eventually, the world would be introduced to the face of the Rollin' 60s in Savannah when one of the young members associated with this gang decided to make a change from kicking doors and invading homes, instead deciding to rap about his experiences as a Rollin' 60 Crip in Georgia's oldest state. That rapper's name was Quando Rondo, and through his music, we would learn lyric by lyric about the dangerous life of a young man coming up in the Crip-affiliated hoods of Savannah's most dangerous areas. If you found that clip interesting, please hit the like and subscribe button, and if you want to watch the full-length version of this video, check out the documentary on my main channel, Trap Law Ross, and if you want the uncut version of that documentary, then head on over to patreon.com/traplawross, where you can watch all of my best videos completely uncut for just $2. And if you want to keep in touch and get updates on the next documentaries that I'm going to be dropping, make sure you follow me on Instagram @traplawross. Appreciate it. Peace.